Mhm. That's right. We are live, ladies and gentlemen, and we are here for you to talk about comic books. Cecil Lammey, Chris Harp, Ken Sullivan, and SmokingGunComics.com is our website. So let's play our intro, huh? All right, let's get into it, fellas. We have Death Support launching on Kickstarter, launched on Monday, and it is time to get your copy of Death Support. Great artwork by Ty Henderson, of course. We have cover B. This is cover B by Zach Skellington. So you get cover B, cover A. We also have 4 interconnecting covers from Matt Campbell, and the actual original art is available for sale. Again, check out all of our socials and follow us on Twitter, Smoking Gun Comics, on Instagram at smoking.gun.comics. I think I got that right, Chris. And of course, all of our Twitter handles that you can see here. Good evening, gentlemen. Chris, Ken is in marketing. Chris is in websites. I don't know, Chris, you kind of do a little bit of everything for Smoking Gun.
Content management? I don't know. Content
producer, management?
Know.
Okay. And Ken, what's your official title with us? Marketing manager?
I mean, that could be it. I mean, marketing and promotions, yeah.
Okay. I just do whatever you ask of me.
And I appreciate that as we get Kickstarter going, and we get Death Support launched. Ken, I know that you are excited about this book. We've been talking about launching this project, and it's been in the works. Again, we got Gun Discipline coming up next, Gravis after that, Ghost Gun after that, Familiars after that, Terminally Kill after that. I think I got them all. But Ken, Death Support's been on our mind for a while.
Yeah, I think what really is going to help the fans really connect with what Smoking Gun has to offer is that you got such a great variety of artists that came together with this book and different covers, and just to really tell your visioning of this story between Ty Henderson, all the different covers, Matt Campbell's connecting covers. I mean, it's just showing, yeah, and Skeleton's cover B, that it really shows what Smoking Guns comics can do and provide to the consumers, and not have to wait months and months and on end for the books to get to you.
Yeah, because the books are done. So we're getting it funded this month. We have about 28 days left, 29 days, whatever the number is. 28 days. Thank you, Chris. See, Chris, you're on top of it. And it seems like, Chris, with each one of these books, we're growing a little bit more, because we've got our first full color interior art as well in Gravis. That's coming up in a couple of months. Gun Disciplined is after Death Support. But it seems like every book that we launch, we start to do a little bit more.
Yeah. I think that's the greatest part of it. It's like a journey between titles, and when you get the Death Support, there's so many like great artists. Like every single cover is amazing.
Yeah.
But I do like the journey, like the different artists along the way, the different writing, the different type, the content. It's all coming from good brain. That would be probably your brain.
I got a big mouth and a big head and maybe half a brain, but I try. But the cool thing is, Ken, and the comics world, the thing about Smoking Gun Comics is we've got superheroes covered, no problem there. But we also have supernatural stuff like Death Support, because Death Support aren't superheroes. They're not superheroines at all. But this is dealing with the spiritual and the mystical and dealing with death and how death is a big job, but somebody's got to do it. And she's got her sisters to help out. Gun Disciplined is kind of a futuristic Western almost post-apocalyptic story. Terminally Kill is a real world anthology, basically, of multiple stories about a CIA program that lets you live longer if you kill somebody. So like we've got a bunch of different ideas. It's not just superheroes and capes and all those, which are fine, but we have something. And the Familiars is Harry Potter meets Fox and the Hound. It's an animated series. Ty's working on that right now. So we've got you covered with all sorts of different properties and ideas, Ken.
Yeah, and what I'm liking about Death Support is if you've seen the show Supernatural and are familiar with that stuff, this is like the other side of that. You know, you got all the guys trying to go after all the demons and whatnot. This is as if you saw the demons and what they're doing behind the scene to get to the point of that of taking over and stuff like that. But it's only focusing on death and the Grim Reaper type stuff and what it takes to get there. But it's kind of it's like a back door into it, and that's what I like. And it's set here in Denver. You can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, you can't go wrong with that. With a sports reporter who's disgruntled. I have no idea.
I wonder who that is.
Right, exactly.
I was going to say it reminds me of the Clone Wars, the Night Witches, and I kind of see the similarities, the parallels with that.
Okay.
During everything connects back to Star Wars for me because that's how I make sense of things. But
right. I'm glad, Chris. It only took you about 5 minutes to bring up Star Wars, so
yeah,
you were containing yourself a little bit. But I was going to say one also thing about our death support and our universe of death support is there's multiple deaths. And that's where the war is coming. The war for souls are coming. And I'll read people an excerpt from the last page, a splash page of Iosis. Iosis is the Greek version of death. And she's our main death. She's the death on cover B. And it says this: those who were once near death must face me eventually. These souls who escape my grasp are only delaying the inevitable. Rival death merchants, so-called gods like Santa Muerta, Anubis, Hail, Kali, the Shinigami, and others are interfering in our work. My sisters, war is coming. And Chris, you and I've ingested a lot of science fiction and all sorts of things, but like, it's really one of the first properties that actually deals with multiple deaths, not just there's one death and this is the death and this is who you answer to. Souls are the currency of the spiritual world. So you have multiple deaths. It'd be like how you have, multiple grocery stores or whatever, any sort of businesses. And death is the business. And the family business for these sisters is dying.
Yeah. That's the interesting part about it. I really like that it is like the currency. And it's like, to me, I guess it's a combination of Clone Wars and Mandalorian.
Okay, tell me the Mandalorian vibe. Oh, okay, yeah.
Like bounty hunters, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mandalorian has the pucks. All the bounty hunters get the pucks, and they find their target, or they have the fobs. And to me, it's kind of like that, and between universes.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Yeah, Ken. The ladies of death support. I think that's one of the things that's gotten the most attention. And hey, those type of comic book women can certainly move the needle. But one thing is noted about the beautiful covers that we have, Ken. It's also the beautiful women that are involved in death support. And certainly comic book fans love that. So that's also something, it's like we're not doing these women just for eye candy. And some books do that, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. There's certainly a market for that. But these women are of all different races, even though they're sisters. The death support is picked, and it's picked by death. So she picks these women that have passed on, that have died, to help her in the battle against these other deaths for the souls and the currency. As I was talking to Power Ranger, which Power Ranger is Michael Copan, Ken?
Blue Time Force.
Blue Time Force, yes. So I was talking to him, and I said the reason why they fight over these souls is because a soul that is not at peace when it passes can create a forced soul removal, which is a real thing spiritually wise. And a forced soul removal is basically a demonic possession. And Michael really, really liked that idea. Like, oh my God, because they're fighting for these souls. They don't want them to be lost and basically turn into their enemy, which are demons.
Yeah, and he is not only a Power Ranger but a director and a producer, and so he can he can get that description and see it in his head and be like, you know, this could be a series, this could be a movie, uh, and he already works in that industry, and that's the kind of way he sees it. I mean, if he wasn't signing autographs, he was working on his next projects going forward, and I think that's where we definitely work together really well, is making those connections with everyone else, to really try and bring your envisionings to life, not just in comic books, because it's really good. I mean, I'm loving it, and you can't go wrong with that psychedelic art right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can't go wrong with that. And that's the one thing about our books and our properties. It's like, yes, they're comic books, but they're also written to be TV shows, streaming shows, movies, what have you. And that's something I guess maybe is a bit unusual, because sometimes properties are started and then they're made into movies. These are written as movies, as streaming shows. With Gravis, for example, we have 4 seasons of Gravis. So about 40 episodes. I think it's 42 off the top of my head. So like, yeah, we're going to have a story coming out, and it's a 10-page story for Gravis and an ASHCAN. There's hundreds of pages after that already written. And it's written in a way that, and the nice thing about this, Chris, is you and I are old enough. We're older than Ken. Ken's a young pup. Look at him there.
Not by much.
Face. But Chris, you and I can remember when it was like, hey, I wonder who could play Spider-Man, before those movies came out. And we were just like, I hope to see then a Star Wars prequel or something like that. So it's nice today where ideas and properties are sought after by these movie companies.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and then you have like A-listers that are playing them, nowadays, well, in both the small screen and the big screen.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess there is some obscure characters in comic books that I think would really make for interesting content on both in movie theaters and on TV. And I think the more diversity there is, the better. And I think that sport has that for sure.
Yeah.
In spades.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's just interesting characters and interesting situations, Ken. I know you're writing your book. You can talk to us about that, because that'll be out on Indiegogo later this summer. And what you do is you take interesting characters, put them in interesting situations. And there's a few rules that I follow in writing. And it's from Blake Snyder and Save the Cat. But it's also Glenn Gers does Writing for Screens. It's a YouTube channel. Shout out Glenn Gers. And he's a successful Hollywood writer. He's actually retired now. So he just does just does writing for screens on YouTube as a hobby, basically. But it's, who are they? What do they want? Why can't they get it? What do they do about it? How does it turn out? Like, there's 6 rules. I gave you 5, but there's 6 rules of writing. And with your property that's coming out, you can talk about on Indiegogo. You have a very interesting character that everybody knows, put in an interesting situation. So again, writing comes down to, who are they? What do they want? Why can't they get it? What do they do about it? How does it turn out?
Yeah. So a lot like you, this story I wrote over 20 years ago now, when I was in high school, inspired by the song Night Santa Claus Went Crazy. But it was written, I wrote it as a movie script. That was the project, was to write a movie script. So I picked that song to base this movie off of. And then so I busted out what pages I had written, and then the floppy disk, found that. And then the little 3.5 inch, and rewrote it as a comic. But essentially this universe and it was just one thing. So I had to think about, oh, what's next, like you say, and create a universe around that. So in this universe, our fictional characters is their reality. And they do the same thing over and over again, and it drives them to the edge. So you're going to be seeing the Tooth Fairy, the Easter Bunny, Leprechaun, and future issues and stuff like that. And it's not what you with Kris Kringle is the name I went with for the Santa Claus character. What really drives him over the edge isn't what you'll think when you first are reading the book. It's a 16-page story, and you're like, oh, you might, when you see in the middle, towards the middle of the book, you're like, oh, this is what he does, because all of it is just that the normal story. He's getting his list, checking it twice. You see his office, you see the workshop, the dialogue, obviously. But the only returning character in this universe is the therapist. So this ain't a Christmas book. It's not a Santa Claus book. It's not a Kris Kringle book. It is actually the therapist that is essentially getting them to tell them their stories to him during the therapy session while they are in an Arkham-like asylum, and only for what we consider in our reality fictional characters.
Right, but they're real.
But they're real, and they do the same thing over and over again, and it kind of drives them nuts.
I think that would mess with someone. So
it does feel like kind of like a blend of, I don't know, the fairy tales and stuff, like and then mixed with Sopranos and mixed with I forgot what else I was thinking. There was another one.
Well, definitely Sopranos with the therapist.
Yeah.
Like a mob boss goes to therapy. Yeah, and Batman.
Yeah, and Batman. It sounds like a good blend of that, and I think that's pretty cool. It's interesting.
Yeah, it's just like what does he want? What he wants is what ends up driving him crazy, and what causes his action. So I don't want to give that up. But it goes from lightheartedness to dark really quick. So it is a like a horror genre book, and most of them will be in that dark territory for future books, because it's that character's story of why they finally snapped. And just the teaser for the second book is going to be based around the Tooth Fairy, but like with Death Support, and you picked a name for that character, you didn't just call her Death. You gave it a name, her a name. I did the same thing with the Tooth Fairy, because I don't want to call the character Tooth Fairy. It doesn't make sense in that kind of context. So what they call the Tooth Fairy in Norway is Tanfi. So it's a Tanfi story, and that's the name of the Tooth Fairy. As soon as you see the picture, you're gonna know it's the Tooth Fairy. I mean, it's not The Rock playing the Tooth Fairy either.
We've already seen that. But you've got Omar Rios working on your book, and
he is
Omar
an amazing artist
for Terminally Kill. So that'll be our final IP that comes out this year for Smoking Gun Comics. Ken, your comic kicks Indiegogo August? Is that what you're thinking?
It's going to go August 1st for 45 days. And then as soon as it ends, it goes to print. So we know exactly how many copies are being made because of different, because it's now at 10 covers that are going to be getting done, including 3 blanks, a white blank, a limited edition green blank, and a limited edition bloody blank. 2 convention exclusives, a store exclusive, my cover A and B, and then A and B virgin variants.
Okay, nice. Can we tease any sort of stretch goals for Death Support? Should we tease that, or should we wait and you and I have a meeting and then we'll talk about stretch goals for Death Support?
We can have a meeting and talk about it in a next week's stream.
Okay, that sounds like
so we can lock in some of that stuff.
Sounds like a plan. Can be good. Let's get together sometime soon.
Yep.
All right. Peace. Chris, what can we tell people about what's upcoming on our website on smokeandguncomics.com besides my blog that I will write tonight and put up?
We're going to continue to promote the Kickstarter, the recent Kickstarter that's going on with Death Support, and I think we should give them a little bit more teases for the stretch goals once you get those.
Okay, I like that. Maybe that can be another blog, right?
Yeah, it can be, or I could have a, I don't know. That's kind of old school. A banner flashing across the top of the screen. Don't do that. It's old. It's too old.
Okay. Did I see Leia behind you? I saw Leia run around behind you.
Yeah, it's just right over there. Leia, come here. Come here. There you go. My pretty girl.
Oh my goodness.
Here, this is Princess Leia.
Yeah, she is a princess for sure.
Okay. I'm gonna put you down. You lick my face to death.
She's a handful, that's for sure.
Yeah, she is bigger than she should be, and that's my fault. We need to get out and exercise more. We need to go on more walks.
Yeah, as long as it quits raining. Then
Yeah, that's the thing too. Like I was starting to go on walks with her, and then it was just rain, and then there's like thunderstorms or the threat of thunderstorms. So like, I guess we ain't going walking, and then that's it.
Okay. I need to get back to Greeley because our guy, Pot Stoner Degenerate Jason, he's up in Evans. He's
in Evans?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Nice.
So we all three of us could hang out.
Yeah, definitely.
Go grab a Starbucks, talk about Star Wars.
Yeah. If he's into that. I mean, I'll talk about whatever, like sports, talk about how bad the Broncos are right now. And hopefully Sean Payton is our savior.
Yeah, we got plenty of Broncos talk we could bring up on this show. There's Ken talking about rain, and then Blue-Eyed Scorpio, named after True Leia, not Fly Through Space Leia. Yeah. I think the Mary Poppins part of Leia, I understand with Carrie Fisher's death that they, were confused or whatever to do with Denver's own Ryan Johnson. But I feel like when Kylo Ren blew up the helm of that ship, like the bridge, that's where Leia should have died. Because then it's Kylo Ren, it's Ben Kenobi, it's Ben Solo killing his father and then killing his mother. And then having those feelings of regret and remorse and, confliction. Because again, I'll go back to Save the Cat and the screenwriting, it's every story has to have conflict. What greater conflict than patricide and matricide, killing your father and killing your mother, and I think Kylo Ren and Finn, and Finn was just done dirty, absolutely.
Oh
dirty.
Yeah, totally.
Those are two characters, the most interesting characters from the sequel trilogy, 1000%. Kylo Ren, and then Finn, but only Finn and from The Force Awakens because they really screwed up his arc.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, the whole Canto Bite thing was ridiculous. You got to find a different arc for him. And then JJ and his mystery boxes. So, with Rise of Skywalker, does Finn have the Force or does he not?
Right.
And just yelling out Rey 50 times. Rey!
Yeah, I just think the story with Finn could have been so much better because you take someone who was kidnapped to become a stormtrooper, who said no to the First Order, and then became, the greatest Jedi or helped rebuild the Jedi Order. So, none of the after Force Awakens, what they did was not make sense. They set it up with JJ, which maybe was the fault at the beginning because they never gave it an end.
Yeah.
But they
should have planned it out.
All three movies should have been planned out, and Finn, taking off the posters in China. YouTube will probably throw us off for saying that, but there were reasons why Finn was not as heavily featured as he should have been. But I think just that character and the conflict within, again, conflict is the story. If you don't have conflict, you don't have a story.
That's true.
Or what conflict would you have when you are kidnapped? You don't know your family. You have these powers. You don't know how you got them. You don't know how to use them. You don't want to kill people. You're supposed to kill people as a stormtrooper. Like, Finn was an incredible character that they just screwed the pooch on.
They didn't even write an origin story for him. Like in the movies, obviously they didn't. They didn't even write it in comics or any novels.
Right.
So yeah, he's way due for some good storytelling and actually have a good arc. And maybe he might be in the new movie with Daisy Ridley. Supposedly
that's open to coming back.
Yeah. You know, after he was like bad mouthing Disney and stuff like that, which he had every right to.
Yeah, for good reason.
Now he's kind of like, whoa, you know, I'm good if you want him back.
Maybe
I'm totally fine with. I want him back.
Well, it's just like Daisy Ridley. Like, you know, she's not getting any work. And what she did after Star Wars wasn't great. So it's like, okay, go back to that golden goose that is Star Wars. And if that's what happens with Finn, John Boyega, then fine. I think John Boyega is a great actor.
Oh, yes.
Who has done dirty. By the way, Blue Eyed Scorpio, who fully supported fake booze. Thank you, Blue Eyed Scorpio. Captain Phasma. That's another character where it was like you had these great setup, you know, and I know it's JJ and it's the mystery boxes, but you had this great looking character, an interesting character, and then you're just like, throw it away, you know.
They did write a novel for her. I never read it, but I heard that it's mediocre. They gave her an origin story in there, and there's her mentor is somebody called Captain Cardinal, who just looks like a Sith trooper with a cape.
Okay.
But he wasn't really that interesting. So that's what I've heard, though. I haven't read the novel.
By the way, you brought up the Sith Witches when we're talking about Death Support, which is now live on Kickstarter. Everyone go get your copy of Death Support now. You know, I love spec on comic books, right? Son of Dathomir. The Sith Witches will be introduced in Ahsoka. And
the Night Sisters. You think so?
The Night Sisters, yes. Yes, they will be introduced in Ahsoka, and Son of Dathomir is their first appearance. So Son of Dathomir, #1, it's the only Dark Horse book that was considered canon. Dark Horse is back to making Star Wars comics, and they're all canon now. But the old Dark Horse comics, which most of them are legends, Tales of the Jedi, you know, the Sith War, that type of stuff, Son of Dathomir is the only story from Dark Horse from the Legends era that is considered canon. And those witches will be in Ahsoka. So get your... And Son of Dathomir is probably like a $50 book right now. But I bet when that show hits, because it's going to be a hit, you know Ahsoka. They're not going to screw up Ahsoka.
Yeah.
That book probably jumped threefold. You know, be a $150 book, something like that.
That's one I don't have. I don't have that one.
Yeah, I don't have it either, and I'm
you don't?
Yeah, surprisingly, I don't have it, and it's one of those like I really want to get it, and again with any sort of spec, like get it before the show hits, or else then you're screwed.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But you said it's going about 50 right now.
Yeah, I could look at Key Collector. Shout out Key Collector app. I do have an interview with Comic Tom and Fire Guy Ryan coming up, and of course their show's in part sponsored by Key Collector. But I will search Son of Dathomir right now just to see what it says, because it is a great story. It's Darth Maul's story. Of course, everybody loves Star Wars Darth Maul, Son of Dathomir, 2014, $50 book.
Okay.
Yeah. So
did Marvel like once that was no, never mind. Marvel owned Dark Horse, did they? Or they still do?
No, Dark Horse is their own company. So
okay.
The Key Collector app on Son of Dathomir #1 says, final Star Wars series published by Dark Horse, the only canon story that carried over to Marvel. First appearance of Gar Saxon, commander of the Mandalorian Super Commandos. First appearance of Rook Kast, a Mandalorian. Is he related to Jodo Kast? A Mandalorian leader of the Shadow Collective. Introduction of the Darksaber in a standard comic book. And then, yeah. So is it not the first appearance of the Sith Witches, of the Night Sisters? So they Son of Dathomir #2, which is a $35 book, first appearance of Mother Talzin, a Night
Okay,
Sister,
there it is. Mother Talzin's the head of the
and
Night Sisters.
mother of Darth Maul.
Yeah, and Mother of
So
Darth Maul and Savage Press.
honestly, Son of Dathomir #2 might actually be the one to 1 and 2, because you're getting the first appearance of Darth Maul's
Yeah.
mom. You know they will explore that. Again, conflict. Conflict makes it's why Darth Maul is such a great character. It's more than just the look. It's more than Ray Park and his lightsaber skills. It's an interesting and conflicted character.
Yep. And I was in the middle of my Star Wars binge that I do once a year. So I just rewatched. Well, it's been probably a couple weeks now, but I was watching Clone Wars and watching the Darth Maul, evolve, and how he stayed alive by just being crazy and insanely mad, and then just wanted to spend the rest of his life trying to kill Kenobi. Between Clone Wars and Rebels. Plus, he had that awesome fight with Ahsoka in season 7. He foresaw that he had a vision about Anakin being the next apprentice of his master. He's had a very complex story. I mean, in the prequel, there was hardly anything about him other than him fighting. But they made him a very interesting character.
I think he had 8 minutes of screen time.
Yeah,
Something like
yeah,
that? Nothing.
yeah. It was barely in it.
Yeah, but he's also one of the most recognizable characters in the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, for sure.
So they're going to do something with him. Son of Dathomir 1 and 2, but only after you buy Death Support.
Oh yeah, yeah. That cover freaks me out. I'm not gonna lie. I love it, but it freaks me out because she's like, I don't know, she's twisted in a way that makes me scared.
Well, she's bleeding from the eyes.
Yeah, that too. Yeah, but no, I love it because it also look at her. What is it? There are things that are coming out of her, part of her costume that go up. What are those things called? Right above her shoulders. Yeah, those
Right
to me
there.
kind of remind me of Mother Talzin.
Okay, yeah.
But
She's got the bat on her neck.
yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm. And of course the skull on her necklace. But yeah, and the sutures on her face too.
yep,
So
yep. But it creeps me out in a good way. I mean, yeah, she's
she's single.
single.
I think more people are looking at love. I didn't bring in the Matt Campbell prints, the mini prints.
Yeah.
I think more people are looking at love right there. Yeah, people love. There is karma right there, and then there is hate right there.
Right.
I can't see, so I hope people saw it.
Oh.
But anyway, get your copy,
Yes.
and then you can check it out.
I think they're all single.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think that's for a reason. But again, that's also conflict with each one of them. And just for example, since I named them, you have Iosis, who's the Greek death. You have Hate, who deals with the souls of the really bad people, like the rapists, the murderers. She deals with them before they die, and she torments them. Love deals with the kind souls, children, stuff like that before they die. So she's very, very caring in what she does. Karma is very balanced. She's very even keel with everything she does, but she can deal with either one. She can deal with murderers, or she can deal with, the most beautiful souls that happen to pass on to the next life. So, and it's all about keeping the ledger and maintaining balance. And basically the souls are, they're accountants. They're keeping track of the souls, and they go get the people, the souls, when it's their time, because you have a sole contract. And when it's your time, you have to be reminded that, hey, you signed this contract. You came here to do this, even no matter how brief it was. Now it's time to go. Now it's time to go back.
Yeah. You guys got to see the spread too. It's awesome. Like it's like that big. It's huge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The 4 connecting covers are absolutely fantastic. So everybody check that out. I don't think I can show. Yeah, I don't have the covers uploaded. I do have the mini prints already done, which are also part of the Kickstarter. So you support the comic book, and you can get your set of mini prints. You can get 1 mini print, whatever you want. But we've got it all for you, and these are our guys right here. But like, yeah, it's there for you, and it's available right now on Kickstarter. And Chris, you and I got some things to do on the website. I have a blog to write, so I said I would keep you around for a little bit. I think I kept you a little bit longer, but as always, my friend, I appreciate you. And for those that just know or need to know, like, Chris was my college roommate, so you've seen the worst of me, Chris, and you're still my friend, so I appreciate that.
Oh, I appreciate you. You've seen the worst of me too.
No, you're a good person. I'm flawed, but
only
that's
on
okay.
Wednesdays am I a good person.
Okay, only on Wednesdays. Yeah,
Today's
you
Wednesday.
got some mannequin. You got some mannequin in you. So
Yeah, I do.
That's okay. All right, he's Chris Harp, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Cecil Lammey. Chris, be good, man. I'm going to play that interview right now.
All right, sounds good. Y'all have a good night.
Peace. All right, everybody. Yesterday, I had a chance to interview Comic Tom, of course, from his YouTube channel and his website, comictom101.com. And everyone should go there, sign up for the mystery mail call. Also, look out for Crashdown, which is Comic Tom and Fire Guy Ryan's comic book that is available to order in previews right now. Final order cutoff for it, I believe, is early June. So make sure right now, as we got 2 weeks left in May, get your issues of Crashdown ordered right now at your local comic shop. Make sure to go to Kickstarter, get death support, but also go to your local comic shop and order Crashdown from Comic Tom, Fire Guy Ryan. Again, comictom101.com. So here we go. I'm going to pull up the file right now, and I'm going to play the interview for you with Comic Tom and Fire Guy Ryan. Here we go.
And it's recording. It says we're recording. So here's the intro, 10 seconds. I wait for the countdown thing to begin. This is the StreamYard issue that we all have. Are we live? Are we live? We're live. We're recording. So what was that?
Are we live? We're not live.
No, we're not live. This is just recording.
But it's recording. Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay. Now the countdown has begun. There you go, StreamYard. Thank you. Okay. Here's my cheesy intro. I've blown your eardrums out, and now we're going to make sweet love to your eardrums with, of course, Comic Tom 101 and Fire Guy Ryan. I have to tell you guys, like, as a talk show host, and I talk to all sorts of sports ball figures, LeBron James, whoever. I'm actually a little nervous talking to you two. So, I don't get nerves. I don't get nerves at all when I interview people, but I'm just like super excited and super amped up because I have been a member of the Mystery Mail Call. I know when you change the box.
Oh,
right?
Okay.
So I've been a member of Mystery Mail Call probably from before the pandemic. So probably not from day one, but like at least 3 years plus. And I urge everyone, comictom101.com. and support the channel. Go to get the Mystery Mail Call every single month. You get sweet comics. I told you guys once already on Instagram, like I got first appearance Falcon from y'all.
Oh, heck.
And so I sent it off to CGC because I send about 10 to 20 books a month, and I always send them in the Comic Tom boxes.
Nice.
I got an 8.5 on it. So anyway, welcome to the show. I'm Chatty. You're Tom. You're Ryan. How are you guys doing today?
Dude, we're doing so good. We've been hard at work. We took a bunch of pictures of original art today. I'm kind of dabbling in that, and
Oh no.
I've got some really cool pieces. So we're gonna be like adding a whole section to our website. But I thought it'd be a kind of an easy process, but then I realized, how do you take great pictures of like big 12 by 18 pieces of art? Some of this was even larger. So my room was covered in like really expensive paper, and it was a little nerve wracking. And there was 3 of us just like walking around trying to keep Comic Butch away. That's my cat. And but while he was at bay, we got an email from our artist for our comic book Crashdown, Ben Templesmith, with our prelims for all of issue 2. So in between working, I'm watching this guy.
I'm supposed to be typing like, all right, this is a Spawn cover. It's 12 by 17. Johnny Jardins, okay. Next, and then in between typing all this stuff, I'm like switching tabs, going like, oh my god.
Yeah, you did a lot than that, because I'm like, Ryan, this is page 17 interior art, and he's like, oh, but it's the scene. Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
back to work.
Yeah, I had a big dorky smile on my face. It was a good experience. It was a good day.
Well, I saw the email come in, and I just told myself, I got to get this done first, and then I can geek out. So once we got all the work done, then we got a chance to go panel by panel and do our job as writers to like break it down with our script and make sure everything's just perfect, and then have our freak out sessions independently.
That is fantastic. We're going to get into all things Crashdown here on today's program. And before we get there, though, I do have to show you guys this. I feel like it's show and tell, because I'm wearing this shirt. It's your
my gosh,
Momoko shirt.
Okay.
That
So
right
this
there.
was after Mill Geeks was broken into, right? Because I bought the support your local comic shirt you guys have. I have a Mark Jewelers shirt, not the Gem Mint one, but I have the regular Mark Jewelers one. And then I got this shirt, but I can't remember. I was telling one of my friends, like, I can't remember why Peach Momoko made this shirt for you guys. So
Yeah,
can
what
you
happened,
remind me of that story?
So at the time, our editor, who doesn't live in the United States but still edits our trending videos and our podcasts, and shout out Slav, who's going to be a dad.
Congrats.
he-
Yeah,
he
I keep
got-
forgetting that's happening.
He got
but that's
married in the
happening.
last year, and he's going to be a dad. So a big shout out to Mr. Shatalov. But we were paying him like extra to just work, and he's a night owl. So there was a lot of times that he'd be working at like 1, 2, 3 in the morning. At the time, back then, we were like doing a lot of this ourselves, bagging and boarding and the hustle and the grind. And it was a heck of a lot more work back then. Now that we have a team, it's a bit easier. Hence why we have time to write a comic book. I don't think we've been able to write a comic book that
No.
bad. But we always needed bags and boards done. So if he needed like hours, and everyone's over here like super conservative and just trying to make it back then. And he would be up at like 1, 2, 3 in the morning, just bagging and boarding at the shop. At the time we were working out of Milky Comics. We're no longer there. But at the time we were, and there was a whole upstairs. So he was up there with his brother bagging and boarding when robbers bashed the window downstairs where the comic shop is, broke in to try to start stealing stuff. And they immediately went upstairs and were greeted by
Slav's like
our
8
editor.
feet tall and
Oh my God.
and a little intimidating and scary, and not who you would probably expect to see in a business at
Yeah.
the end of the night. So
Those guys ran out so damn quick. We got video of it and showed it on the channel. But yeah, he chased them out because like he described it as he was just working. He looks up and there's people coming through the door with ski masks on.
Oh my
So-
God.
He just starts screaming at them, and they weren't expecting him to be there, so they all run out. Well, anyways, we needed new security. We need at the shop because we were working out of Russ's shop too. Like kind of renting the space out to assemble the mystery mail call, and his windows were bashed in, and some stuff was messed up at the counter, etc. And we, I was like, hey, let's upgrade your cameras and let's get this done. It was pretty expensive. But we were taking care of it. Like we were going to do this no matter what. And Peach Momoko, which we've done multiple covers with Peach, we've did reviews with Peach, written and like on the channel, where she like wrote in because she doesn't speak English. So we've done different types of interviews so that she can have a voice on our channel. And she reached out and said, hey, I saw that this happened and we'd like to support. And she sent us 2 images the one on your shirt and one that we would use on our tote bags that we made. And she said, we've never released a U.S. Peach Momoko shirt or merch ever. And we'd like you to be the first one to do it. So you're wearing the first Peach Momoko U.S. merch, and all the proceeds, she insisted, would go towards bettering the shop's security. So she helped pay for upwards of a year of security for the locations that we have, the windows being redone, the doors being redone, the locks, like everything was funded because of her kindness and generosity. So that shirt does mean a lot to me for more reasons than it just being damn awesome.
It's also really cool. On top of all that,
Right.
Really good art.
But yeah, we'll never print it again. It was a one-time thing, and those who purchased it, like yourself, really helped us out during a time that was stressful. Fortunately, they didn't steal anything because they were,
scared away. Yeah.
They were in and out. But it was a very kind of damaging thing that happened. It felt violating. These are our people who are working on our team, so they were really shook about it. So that type of thing really brought the team together, which was also a really beautiful thing.
Right. Well, and that's the one thing I love about y'all's channel is, one, it's positive, and two, it's about community. And I think in the broadcasting world on my side in sports, it's like people react positively to positivity. And I know there's other YouTube channels that do things differently, which is fine. As my grandma would say, that's their way. But one thing I appreciate is when I tune in to watch you guys, I'm going to laugh. I'm going to have fun. I'm going to learn about the trending comics. Ryan's going to say something that I totally agree with. Right. So it's fun. And I think at the end of the day, that's what comics are all about. It's about community and just the love of the art of the medium.
Absolutely. I think that's something that we learned really quick, because when we started 5 years ago, we were just throwing stuff at the wall, see what stuck, right? We had a whole I don't know, it was 2 hours long worth of content covering the Stan Lee drama that happened back in the day. Well before he passed. And I covered things like CGC conspiracy stuff and CBCS and PGX and all that, little stuff. But I'm talking this is within the first 20 videos I ever made, just trying new things. And I realized very quickly, I don't like making content about anything other than how dope or how informative or how fun comics are. Anything beyond that, it's just, I feel like I'm wasting time. Right. You can get that in other places, and I love a good drama video, and there's a lot better people who do it than I do as well.
Especially back then.
Right. Yeah. But as far as our content goes, top of mind is we get a lot of new members into the community through the content that we make. We meet them at conventions regularly. They hit us up, and it's a humbling feeling, but also something that we take really seriously here. So whenever we're making content, I'm always thinking, hey, what if this is a person who's possibly may buy their first comic book? Or what if this is a person who stumbled upon the video, used to buy comics, and maybe they want to get back into reading,
a lot of people out there, apparently, which I wasn't aware of at the time, a lot of really young viewers of our channel, kids.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed would have the patience or desire to sit through our kind of content. So
there's a staggering amount of parents in our community, members with children or grandchildren. So they watch the show and their kids are around. So I've met so many kids at conventions with their parents, and they're like, hey, I watch this show, and the kids watch it before bed kind of stuff. And I'm like, well, this is so fun. But also, I don't want to swear on the show anymore.
We used to swear.
Now
it's like, oh, you can't do that now. There's kids. There's kids out there probably watching this right now. Shout out
Noah.
Right. Yeah. Well, I love the positivity, and I love the fact that you guys get to business. Again, my broadcasting brain goes in this. I've contacted Bri about this with Bri's Comics, because
Bri's dope. Yeah, shout out Bri's Comics.
And Bri's awesome.
You too.
And love Casually Comics, Sasha and Casually Comics, a bunch of great comic channels out there. But I contacted Bry because he was doing the same thing. And I was like, as a broadcaster, I just appreciate, because no one cares about like, how's the weather or traffic or whatever. And I know I'm in radio and TV, and it's like, ass crack and ball sack, mayhem in the AM, like, how's traffic, how's the weather? Like, nobody cares. Get to business. Tell me what the Broncos are doing or whatever. So I like your show because it's fun and you just jump right in. So was that something that you had like, researched or studied? I know I've started podcasting in 2006, and my first podcast of the Audible, I said, welcome back. We're going 18 seasons strong now, but in the very first show, I said, welcome back. So it's like, okay, it just takes time and chops. And anytime there's a young person I talk to and they're like, I want to do what you do, I say, 1, it's work. 2, you got to have fun. And 3, just be good and be kind to people. So what is it about like getting to business right away in the format of your show where you don't waste time? Like, was that something you studied, or is that just what you enjoyed?
Well, I had some role models prior to us starting YouTube. I showed Gem and Collectibles, Comics Explained, Variant
we had
Comics.
some homework that, Tom definitely sat us down and was like, these are some of the channels we really like, and we kind of want to swim in these same waters. So let's study a little bit.
Yeah, and a lot of those individuals, most of them, I consider them close friends now, which has also been very helpful to learn from, kind of as they do. But as far as like getting to business and trying to figure out, I mean, what you're talking about is like keeping the viewer entertained.
Yes.
Most people are in and out of a video within a couple minutes. So if you're making videos that you're intending the viewer to watch for 12 or 15 or 20, you gotta like map it out. You gotta do it with some intention. You can't have like a slow intro and poor thumbnail. You have to have a hook and something that gets them excited about wanting to stick around. So what it really is just you have to have some like forethought and give it some thought. Put some effort into the time that you're going to be sharing with the viewer, because they're giving you their most valuable commodity, their time. Back in the day, do you want to tell them how I used to do the videos with you guys with a timer?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And you should get into how terrible it was, because I
Like a
part of me
stopwatch?
felt bad. Yeah, Ryan, you tell them.
We had it was a different table. It was back in our old studio, like the old G1 studio back in Tom's
This is
garage.
year 1. I've never made videos professionally, and I'm also mastering the production, learning Adobe, Photoshop, After Effects, mixing, recording, everything, right? So
Right.
at the same time, I'm also learning not just how to produce, but to host a show. And even then, I never thought I would be hosting a show, but it kind of evolved into that. So that's where we are at in this timeline. I'm just learning everything and also trying to make a badass video. Excuse me.
As speak of the devil. I just remember there being we set up my tablet on the side of the table on like stopwatch mode and just hit go just to keep an idea of like how long the rough cut was. This was before we had like monitors on the side of the table to tell us that stuff right now.
Right.
But I just remember it being my tablet just sitting there with a timer that kept going up and up and up and up, and Tom would be like, we're going too long, we're going too long, we're going too long, and I'd just be stressing out, and I don't know if it helped. I don't think it helped very much.
Well, what would happen is there'd be a point, and this would be shared with this was mostly just Russ and Ryan, because Guru was, I think he came in year 2.
Yeah, Jeff didn't come in until later on.
So this is the early days. It'd get to a point where we'd be like flowing. We'd be doing a video, we're doing a breakdown of a comic book, we're acting, we're like doing voiceovers and pretending like we're the characters and just like trying to do improv and just stepping out of our comfort zone. And there'd be a point in the video where I would we'd be like done. It'd be like 14, 15, sometimes like 17 minutes in. And I would give a look to the person across the desk. It'd be Russ or it'd be you, Ryan. And you would see them go from Fire Guy Ryan mode, Mill Geek Comics, Comic Sensei mode to, we're going to restart.
Oh, that's what you're talking about. Okay, yeah.
And I'd make those suckers do it again. I'd be like, comic fam, we're back at the and they'd be like, "Fucking hell."
We did
That's like a Rocky training montage.
Oh yeah, no.
I wish I would have known how to like capture enough content back then. I was like,
I blocked it out. I didn't even remember doing that.
I was
that
using,
was
like-
miserable. In that hot, stuffy garage
it's like
or
doing for
freezing cold garage.
Yeah, it's like either was too hot or was too cold, and I was like running off SD cards. So it's like, oh, this one just filled up. I'll be right back, guys. I gotta go empty 20 gigs because like it's just I was like transitioning between going from working at the bank to Amazon and then kind of like weaning off a part-time job to start either doing something completely different and going back to school or trying to do stuff in comics because I was like, that was what my passion was and still is.
Right.
So I was like going all in at that time, and I sold like my Yola collection and all my great comics that I wish I had today to buy the table and to buy new cameras and lights, and none of which we even have in the studio anymore because it was like, you just got to get by, you know?
Right.
I'll stand up and autofocus the two cameras every 15 minutes because the camera goes out because I didn't have a setup to be able to record for 20 minutes at a time. You know, it was
Right.
tough. But to answer your question,
Trial
doing
and error.
all of those things, trial and error, a lot of failed videos, camera one went out, audios went out. And it's like, it gets to a point when it's so hard to do it right that when you do it, you want it to be perfect. And I
Yes.
think that like, I don't even want to call it like OCD. It's not even like being, it's not even what is it? Perfection. It's not even,
Perfectionism.
yeah, perfectionism.
that
That's
the
the word
word?
I'm looking
Yeah.
for there.
Okay, right.
It's not even that. It's more of just like the pride of like, I didn't just do this for an hour to let this video be 80% as good as it could be, because damn it, we're doing it for the comic fam. So we're going to give them the best type of video and quality video we can. So
Yeah.
I learned that early on, that it's just all about serving the community and providing them with something that they can enjoy and kick back and watch. And I don't know, you take it seriously and eventually you kind of just make it habit.
Well, and you notice the people that do, and you notice the people that don't. And again, doesn't mean you can't find great content from people that don't, but like you can definitely tell. And I've always said people are looking for reasons to tune out. They're not looking for reasons to tune in. They'll tune in if you get them, but they're always looking for reasons to tune out. So you keep and capture their attention. But Fire Guy Ryan, I have to ask you.
Uh-oh.
Is right. And again, usually what you say, I'm nodding my head with, like about when you talk about Criminal or you talk about Green Lantern, like that's my jam. I'm more Emerald Dawn because I'm old, right?
Sure.
I'll always talk about the 90s. So I'm never
working my way
shy
through
about
that
doing
right
that.
now, very slowly,
Yeah,
but I'm working
yeah.
through it.
Yeah. But I want to know your first memories of Tom. Like, how'd you guys meet? What did you think of him the first time? Were you like, oh man, this guy's a ball of energy? Like, what were your thoughts? Just kind of take me back through the history of y'all's relationship.
We're going back in time, Ryan.
We are through a time machine. To let's say we'll start off in like the year 2010, 2009 or so. I had just gotten back from 2 years of college. Didn't go back. Didn't need to do any more of that. So I got a job working at the mall.
You were gonna Cinnabon, dude.
I started at Cinnabon. I went to GameStop. I went to Jamba Juice. I worked through few different places throughout the mall for a while. Then my mommy sat me down and was like, "You need to have a big boy job." And I also agreed. I was getting kind of sick of just feeling stuck at the mall. So the suggestion was brought up. You like working with numbers. You're good with people. You should probably try being a bank teller. So I applied at Wells Fargo down the street from my house, and I walk in for my interview. The fact that I was even called for an interview was it felt good because I was not prepared for that. I walk in, and there is an older European lady sitting there who was one of the managers of the branch, and then there was a guy who I also assumed was probably also being interviewed at the same time as me because he looked like he was like 15. He had a suit on and glasses, and he's like, "Oh, hey, I'm Tom. I'm the manager of the branch."
Yeah.
sit down, let's have this interview. And that's how it really started. And we had a job interview, and it went well, and I got the job, and that's how we met.
Yeah, I hired him.
And you slowly started revealing your comic fandom, right?
And then I started stealing money from the drawers every day, 100 at a time, till they got me. No, that's definitely not how that happened.
Yeah,
The comic fandom thing came out, I think, in the interview.
It happened in the interview. That's why I hired him.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, straight up.
Don't do that.
Oh, you do that. No, you want to be honest in an interview. Like,
Show personality, right?
I almost would disagree. My very first job interview I ever had, they asked me, "What do you do for fun? What do you do when you get out of school? What do you like to do?" And I just said, like, I don't do a whole lot. I just like to watch movies, because I thought the movie theater would like that.
well, if that's your answer, you make something up.
Bit,
you have to, it has to be something productive is good to talk about. But
I just threw out to play video games.
but here's the thing. Being that I grew up in comics and at the time was, more, I was collecting and trading and doing a hobby, like hard. It's what kept me sane working at the bank, because it was very stressful being young. I was the youngest branch manager at Wells Fargo, I believe, in the country. I got hired they gave me a branch when I was like fresh 21, maybe even turning 21. I'd only been there for a couple of years and moved my way up. And it was a situation where I was like interviewing so many people, and people just saying what they think you want to hear. And Ryan came in and was like, "I like reading comic books." And I'm like, "Oh, snap. You like to read comic books? Do you collect comic books?" Like, "Oh yeah, I collect a little bit." And like, "All right, cool. I know this guy has an attention span to like remember eras now and knowing different superheroes and lore. And he's a reader, and people who read typically are, easy to work with because they're competent, they read, especially a heavy reader like he was, and still
it's a sign of higher intelligence.
Exactly. So I saw those types of things. And then also I was a very young manager and was really just like flexing that as much as I could. I had a Nintendo 64 in the back room. I brought a Sega Genesis back there. I had The Office playing on a rerun every day, all throughout the day. People would switch the discs because those are my favorite things. I was trying to make that place like how I would like it to be.
Photo of Ron Swanson's Pyramid of Greatness on the break room fridge.
I
remember going in there the first time and I was like, "Oh, this Ron Swanson guy must be like the district manager or something. He's got his whole instructions here. I got to look
out for this guy." Right.
Yeah.
I had not seen Parks and Rec at the time, of course.
So how does it feel to go from bank, meeting each other, young comic book enthusiasts, to creating a comic, to now in the process of creating Crashdown, to have it in previews, like all of these things? Like, how does that feel? Before we get into the ins and outs of Crashdown, like, how does it feel to go from fans to creators?
I mean, from fans to creators, or from fans to creators, it feels almost too good to be true. It's not something I ever thought we'd, especially as big as it's gotten, as it pertains to the artists we're working with and the editor we have, and the fact that we're getting support from across the country and out of the country because of Diamond and Lunar. Like, it's all it's very humbling, and it's something that really just makes you focus. It's actually kind of hard to live for me, and I'm going to speak for you, but hard to live in the excitement, because then I just start stressing out and start thinking about the things I want to do and need to do to make this as good as I want it to be, because I want our fans and our supporters to like what we did. I don't want to make something that they'll be disappointed in. Right. But as far as like the partnership with Ryan and how that feels, incredibly safe, and it's been it's been a big part of the process for me. There's never an idea shot down. It's always everything I can trust is coming from a willingness to be flexible, but also with the intention to make everything that much better. every time that we come up with something, whether it's one or the other, it's like by the end of it, it's been piled on and changed and flipped and turned around and the colors changed. And all of a sudden we don't even know who came up with an idea because we both put so much energy into it. It's something new completely. And I think we wrote a pretty damn cool book. I'm very proud of it. So, but yeah, safe and fun. And
It's good to hear safe as I've been called safe by like several girlfriends in the past before. So that's not a good thing in a romantic sense.
You know,
there's a spark,
creatively
there's a spark
safe, you know,
to
Yeah.
creating that.
So I'm
There's
glad
an
to hear you say
energy.
safe. That feels a little reassuring. I think I would agree mostly, and the fact that like
Ryan's like,
this-
I'm dangerous, baby.
oh,
Yeah.
it's been 10 years since Wells Fargo too, which is kind of
Crazy.
weird to think about. That was back in
Wow.
2013 too. So
We're getting old, dude.
yeah, that too. I feel it.
You feel it in your bones.
Does it
But
feel
that-
good for you? You having a good time?
Oh yeah.
Has
No,
the
I'm-
process been different for you, Ryan?
I'm a pessimist by nature, so I keep expecting one day we'll wake up and I'll be like, oh, turns out Ben Templesmith hates you guys and he's out. Oh, it turns out, you know, an asteroid's coming and the comic's not happening because everyone's gonna die. So or something.
Right.
I keep expecting that. So
Well,
every
everyone
comic
hit
touches
up
closer and
their
closer.
local comic shop, order Crashdown. How many covers do you guys have? Is it 6 or 8? It's a
I
lot.
think, yeah, 8. I think it's 8 out the gate,
For-
9 maybe after the most recent drop, and we may or may not have another one coming.
Okay. Spoiler
you know,
alert.
It's incentives. We kept the open to order pretty strong. We have a really great lineup outside of Ben, who's on all the cover A's. We have Casey Parsons on there.
You got David Mack.
And we got David Mack. And we specifically chose to put David Mack as an open to order so that if anyone wants to get what would be one of the most expensive covers that we paid to get done, you know, it's a big artist to get. We made it open to order so everyone can get it, you know. But then we also have some rare ones as well. The 1 in 150 that we just dropped is a Kevin McGuire cover, and he's a JLA artist, like a straight up done JLA over at DC, and we had him homage Brave and the Bold 28. And it was fun because when we asked him to do it, the first thing he said was, "Oh, actually, homage that before," because he's done so much JLA. So we have some like just OGs on our title and some new talent, which is exciting too. And I also was able to do something a bit different. Whatnot has allowed us to do something that they have never done before with their releases. You know, to each their own about how they feel about variant covers. I wanted to make a lot of variant covers, but I also wanted to try and preserve like collectability and also affordability in what is kind of a down market. So we actually made the retailer variant minimums only 100, where I believe every other Whatnot publishing book, if there is a retailer variant, I think it starts at 500. So if you've seen a lot of variants come out, well, it's because like minimums are an amount that you have to do if you're going to do a variant cover. And I was able to roll that back and be able to like put that into a more affordable thing for stores to do who want to support. And also, you know, there's gonna be a lot of like low print books out there. So yeah, there'll be cover A's, B's, C, and D you can open, or you can order and go ham on. Please do order many copies. You know, it's our first published work, and we're trying to do something big to hopefully like start more stuff. You know, we have a lot of ideas for Crashdown. So but also I'm watching the collectible side too, you know.
Yeah, well, and there's the beauty and the spark in creating. You're working with Whatnot Publishing. Why not the crowdfunding route? For example, and I'm going to send you. I'll get with Ryan and get your PO box for the shop, but I'm going to send you like my latest crowdfunded comic, Death Support. Just got fully funded in an hour yesterday.
We just watched the video, right?
Okay,
Right before the show.
thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll send you Fake Booze, which I sent a copy of The Rock to The Rock. This copy, because it's him.
Oh, that's awesome.
But I have a buddy, Mark Schlereth, that did Ballers with him for 3 season HBO, and I'll send you a copy of Sue Immortal as well. So I'm in the crowdfunding world. I'm in the indie comics world. You guys chose to go in a different route with Whatnot. Was there any thoughts of doing crowdfunding, and what are your thoughts on like crowdfunded projects? Remember when Berserker hit Kickstarter and all those sorts of things?
I mean, when the idea was initially started, I was planning on doing something crowdfunding, but it was more of eventually I'll get to it because Ben said he would do the art. You know, we became friends. So he offered to do a book, and it's like, you don't pass up working with Ben Templesmith. And
No.
he's one of my all-time favorite artists. So it's like
Yeah.
true for me. So that started, you know, turning the gears. But as I went down that line, you know, I have friends in publishing. We work with pretty much every publisher at this point. And, you know, chatting with like James Hake from Scout, we were chatting with them a lot, and he had all these ideas. He's like, you know, you can do crowdfunding, or you can do crowdfunding and get support from a publisher. Like there are publishers who will work with you and you can do things simultaneously. And Boom is a good example. They did release Berserker crowdfunded, but then they released ongoing books through standard retail, standard distribution, Diamond, etc. So there's a bunch of stuff all in between that you can do. And that's, you know, all right, well, I wasn't like really looking at like doing this right away, but hey, I'm in conversations, I'm learning about it. And, you know, some of my friends are like, and by the way, it would be cool to put the comic through here. I would love to help with it. So I started seeing like there's some opportunity out there. And I started moving forward with Ben with some ideas. And then we went down to Denver to cover the launch of Whatnot Publishing. At this point,
That's where I met you guys. Was that
right?
the Denver
Oh, that's
Con
right. It
last
was
year?
Denver. That's where we met you.
And I said, hot damn comic fam.
That's right.
Because I
Right.
saw you guys walking around and I wanted to pick my right time. And you guys were in the middle of walking somewhere, and I was like, hot damn comic fam. And then went and self-feed it up with you guys. So
Hell yeah. You
yeah,
showed me the
Denver's where it started. Denver, though, I remember the Whatnot booth, like that was huge.
It was big, right? So like we were, we flew down there to cover it, and we did the first like podcast with all the creatives, and it ended up being kind of like, I don't know, we described it as like almost like we're interviewing them in retrospect, because we got to know the team. We saw their passion for comics and what they were doing and how they were excited to make new comics in a new market that was incorporating live selling through Whatnot. And we had just started doing stuff on Whatnot. So I was like seeing the light here, like, oh, wow, this is a better way we can connect with our community. And they see the things that they wish were different in publishing. So they were looking at doing things in their own way that could empower creatives to make stuff and creator owned. A lot of Image vibes I was getting at the time. So it went so well. And they mentioned like, hey, we chatted with Mr. Bolo, who's over at Whatnot. And that's my friend Jack. And he's like head of comics over there on Whatnot. And he knew that I was, you know, we chat all the time. So I was talking to him about like, yeah, I want to get something done with Ben. Like, I think it'd be really cool. And then this publishing thing happened and he mentioned it to them. So then they approached me and they're like, hey, I knew you're like planning on doing a comic. You want to like do the comic? We would love to do it here, and we'll support it, and we'll do what we've been doing and all the things we said that we've been doing for all these other titles. We'll do it with you. They were like really hyped about it. I came back and I immediately was thinking like, oh, this is dope, but it'd be even cooler if I got Ryan involved, you know, because he's one of my best friends, and I knew that that's a passion of his and a goal of his in his life to make a comic book. So I don't know. You want to take over? I've been talking forever.
No, yeah, that's when I came on board. Because before then, you and Ben had talked about making some kind of horror story set in an asylum or something. Like I didn't even know Ben Templesmith at this point, and you kicked an idea to me and asked about my feedback or something, and I was just like, yeah, that sounds fine. You know, I don't love that idea, but you work on that. You know, good luck, have fun. And then that was really it up until the Denver convention, when we both met all these Whatnot publishing people. And then, you plant the seed in Tom's head and he comes back and it's like, let's actually step on the gas on this thing. Cause like you said before, it was just kind of on the back burner with you and Ben. It's like, yeah, I guess we'll make something eventually someday, maybe, but.
I had like a bunch of ideas written down. I'm a big fan of horror. So like the struggle was like trying to figure out a good, like, I mean,
so
like
I'm watching y'all's trailer, and just tell me if I'm totally wrong. We're not spoiling anything, but I get Dead Space vibes. Am I close? Am I close to that?
I gave up on Dead Space really quick, actually. It was a little too hard for me to shoot that.
Yeah, I don't like the like Dark Souls and stuff, like where it's like super hard. I'm like, no, I don't play. I play video games to shut off my brain, not like
Right.
struggle.
A little
I
bit of Dead Space for sure.
horror in space, like these sort of vibes. Like your trailer was awesome, and just seeing that trailer, it's like, man alive. If that doesn't get you excited, then you don't love comics.
Well, I appreciate that because like we're definitely doing something that we want to do. You know, if someone were to come to me and say, hey, and I bet this would probably be the same to you, and say, hey, I'm gonna get my own comic book published. Let's say it's not Ben Templesmith. Let's just say it's a different artist because like Ben has a very unique style that lends well to horror, right? Let's say it's just another another artist that can do whatever genre you want. And they said, hey, what kind of genre should I release through whatnot? Would you ever pick horror? Would you ever pick sci-fi? Like, no, look at the slate they currently have right there. They have Alpha Betas, and it's like a video game comedy. They have Quested, which is like Hellboy and Zelda mixed together, which is kind of video games, but it's more adventure-like. Then you have Exiled, which is more action-focused, and there's like aliens in it right now. And then you got Ninja Funk, which is different than anything else that's ever been made.
Right,
And it's
right.
awesome. It's loud and music-driven and vibrant and funny and kind of gross in some parts of it, but it's awesome. So like we're coming in there and we're like, okay, body horror, you know, like we want to make you feel kind of disturbed. One of the first times that like the first portion of one of the issues that we wrote that I showed somebody that isn't really big into horror, the first thing they said was like, oh, that's really messed up.
Who was it?
That was Aaron.
Okay.
She was like, that's really messed up. Like, ooh. And it's like, it wasn't that she didn't like it. It's just she felt disturbed by it. And I'm like, all right, we did it. We did a good job.
You're on
That's
the right
what
track.
that was a good idea that we had. So like, but here's the thing. This is different, you know? Like I'm already going into this thinking like, Whatnot's like a major incorporated company, multi-billion-dollar company. Like, I want to rip people in half in this comic. I want it to get freaking gross. Like I want you to feel squeamish, you know? But I also want you to feel excited and titillated. I don't know. The last adjectives, I'm not too sure. I was trying to make you laugh.
That's definitely something we felt like when we got our hands on the sampler for the first 4 Whatnot Publishing titles back when we did that interview last year. And it was just like, yeah, these are good books, but they all kind of fit in semi-similar genres to each other. And the one genre that Tom and I both love more than all the other ones is horror, and there was no horror in their first lineup. So it seemed like it was a very, very clear match.
Right. Who inspires you? Artists, writers, like who are some of your favorites in horror or comics or anything?
Oh man, for me,
Jimmy T, baby.
okay, comic books. Yeah, I can't say that without saying James Tynion in the 4th. Obviously, like Stephen King has been a huge lifelong influence.
Yeah, I read Stephen King on writing before writing Crashdown. Brian Michael Bendis, Words and Pictures, I think that's what it's called. It's another one. Bendis, of course, I'm sure has been a major influence to everything in your life, including
Not so
your
much
religion.
on this specific comic book, but yeah,
No, just in
I guess
general,
I've had a
Right.
Yeah, a whole comic book long almost obsession with the things he writes. But the main influences for Crashdown, I would say, are mainly are movie and TV based, more so than specific comics. But you know, there are particular comics in the mix. But Tom and I approached this with a lot of cinematic influences.
That piggybacks.
Too, Ben Templesmith.
Obviously,
the first thing we did was we got like an entire bibliography and went through dozens of comic books, and 30 Days a Night, every volume's on my shelf, along with Criminal Macabre and Wormwood. Like we're just literally going through it, and a big part of it was like, okay, less of the narrative stuff. Like I have other writing, people that would say inspired the process for me, but also we're definitely writing something to leverage the strengths of Ben Templesmith, because he's a living legend and we'd be fools not to do that. And also I think that's a major part of like the teamwork aspect that I've learned, is that there are times where that's the magic mix, like that's
Right.
you have to have the writers on board with the artist, and then, oh wow, glad we have an editor today because they suggest something and then Ben goes, oh, I can do it like this. And then boom, now the book is great, not good, great. You know, it's like those types of moments that it's all teamwork. But yeah, we had to go through a lot of Ben T stuff because he's doing it. It's like, how does he get to do the background? What is the rain going to be like? Will we even be able to see this? Or is it going to, you know, how it's going to have to be close, like really close. Cause the detail, like those little things and kind of make the panels, it gives the panels life, you know, and yeah, I would say that was
it makes them live, and that's the sign of a good teamwork and good artistry, right? When you work together to create something like that. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, and I don't want to definitely get too far ahead in this question, but I have to ask it because, like, for example, on one of my co-hosts on my radio station said that I'm a super nerd and I have my own comic and whatever. Well, one of our listeners is a writer in Hollywood who's worked with Ryan Reynolds and everything. So he's like, send me your book. So I did. And like, we wrote 4 seasons of Gravis. It's behind me right there. Haven't sold anything. But anyway, like, you never know who's listening. You never know who's watching. So everything that we've written and that I write is with the idea of it can be a comic book and a TV show, a comic book and a feature film. So, and that's the way that I write scripts. That's the way I learned. I think Save the Cat. Yeah, Save the Cat's right there on my shelf. The greatest screenwriting book of all time. Shout out Blake Snyder and the Beat Sheets, RIP. So I just have to ask this question out of curiosity. Is there any thoughts of that? Like, have you, and I'm a dreamer, so I'm always thinking, you know, 10 steps ahead, whatever. Is there any thoughts of that with Crashdown? Could Crashdown, you know, one day be that? You guys have gotten here. Like, what about into TV?
I think specifically, at least for me, because I did have a background with, Save the Cat, specifically the screenwriting book. When actually sitting at the keyboard writing the script for Crashdown, I noticed a little too late, a little after the fact, that it was definitely more like a screenplay and not like a comic book script, when you have to be like, panel 1, this happens, panel 2,
because they're different things. Yeah,
right. The visual script is more just a kind of a flowing, you know, retelling of the events that happen. So at least for me, it's always kind of had a cinematic flavor to it. And it's not something I've spent a lot of time thinking about, again, because I'm not really an optimist. I will be grateful when the book actually is in my hands and I can feel it. And of course, it would be awesome to see a movie or a show made out of this project. But, you know, I'm a one step at a time kind of person at this point.
Right. That's a good way to be. And why does it not surprise me, Ryan? Because like, anytime I watch a show and I'm like, Ryan's on the point, Ryan's on the money, that you would have Save the Cat on your shelf as well. Like that does not, I'm not even surprised by that. I'm just like, oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, just for the cover alone, that's a cover buy. You know,
Ryan's specking on screenplays.
It's got a really good, it's got a lot of good stuff on the inside, but that kitty cat on the front, you know, it's very important.
Well, and it's great because I'm older than you guys, but I remember in the 90s when we'd be like, who would play Spider-Man? You know, like in Wizard magazine. I worked at 7-Eleven. I remember I was at a comic show or somebody, I was trying to explain newsstand to people. Like, newsstand only matters in the 90s. In the 80s, everything was newsstand. But in the 90s, then it was like 10% of the run, and it got just lower and lower from that. And obviously, working at a convenience store, we had a grocery bill where we could spend $50 each paycheck on groceries so we could eat at work. I would spend it all on comics, and usually it was like $150 a pay, which was almost my whole paycheck because I only made like $600 a month back then. But yeah, so newsstand, comics, and it's just, we're fortunate as comic book fans to live in a time where, you know, you see the Russo brothers. I got Grimjack Killer Instinct #1 right there, the gold foil edition. There's only like 200 of those. Anyway, after Endgame, you know what they wrote? Grim Jack. You guys talked about it on your show once for Amazon. So Grim Jack is like written by the Russo, and I'm like crazy about Grim Jack from the 80s because again, I'm old, but like we live in a time where it's spectacular that your properties can become, you know, TV shows and streaming shows and movies just dream about this kind of stuff.
I mean, it's definitely something that's crossed my mind. I mean, it's, you know, writing it has been leveraging a lot of the various resources like we discussed to make the process easier and to really just do it in the best way because people have done it before. But then also applying our favorite scenes that we've seen in movies and in horror. And you know, I'm a big fan of like watching the behind the scenes and even like the filming and directing of horror movies, because sometimes that is even more fascinating than the actual movie. You know, how they do special effects, etc. So there's definitely aspects of that. There's been times where you're like writing a scene and I'm standing up on the side of the room. I'm like, so you're over there, right? So like the camera would be over here. What if Ben draws it where it's up above? And like we're guessing, and then the next thing you know, we're like, we just need to talk to Ben. But there are times where it's like we're really just thinking about it like if like a camera, you know, like we do here in the studio, you know, applying that brain to it. But yeah, I've definitely thought about like that would be freaking cool, and I definitely think Crash would be a great movie if anyone's interested in making something happen. Also, it's worth mentioning like it's a bit like more important to me than a movie at this point. You know, like this is our first published work, and we're making this for the comic fam. You know, it's like I would have been happy to make this to send on the mystery mail call, so that you know, so you could get it and you can tell me how much you dig it. You know?
Yeah, awesome. Every single month,
will be getting it.
You will be
We'll
eventually.
Be the mail call.
Yes.
Well, I will be getting all the covers as well. I want to encourage everyone to go to their local comic shop, order Crash Down, order all the covers, and support Comic Tom and Fire Guy Ryan. ComicTom101.com. Sign up for that mystery mail call. I feel like it's show and tell. I was so excited to talk to you guys. I was like, oh, I got a bunch of stuff to show you. So again, everyone out there, mystery mail call, it's right here. Get it every single month. It's better than the bills you get in the mail. That's for damn sure. So get it. ComicTom101.com. Fire Guy Ryan, Comic Tom. I appreciate you both. You're incredibly entertaining. And I've had people say this to me, and I will reiterate it to you. I feel like I know you guys because I listen to you all the time. And it's something that I remember telling my co-host, Sigmund Bloom. I said, you know, we're not curing cancer. We're not like, I want to help people, right? And he goes, well, there are people that need that entertainment. And I think in this life, which can be pretty brutal, when you have something that gives you entertainment, whether it's comic books or podcasts or YouTube or whatever, like that's something that, you know, we should all encourage, you know, encourage happiness, encourage something that creates a community, because at the end of the day, that's what I think comics are all about. So I just want to thank you guys personally. I know I thanked you in person in Denver, but again, just thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the entertainment that you give the comic fam and the community that you've created with the mystery mail call.
You're too nice, yo. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, say something mean.
Yeah, that's
too nice.
I gotta go the other direction here.
Get into Star Wars more,
what?
Comic Tom. You always say I'm not into Star Wars. I'm like, get into Star Wars.
Yeah, that's true. I'm trying.
Yeah, I just can't wait for Dune, man. But you know, I really appreciate that, man. Like, and it means a lot to hear you say that. Because like there's a few videos we make every week. We've been doing it. And we've never failed to do it in like since we started.
Dedication.
Them, you know?
Yeah.
So and we do it, yes, because of dedication for sure, but there's also this aspect of knowing that there's our homies out there, and I'm not even talking like just like fans that we don't know or haven't ever met, but I mean I'm talking like dealers I know that'll be like, dude, where's the freaking video? Like
right.
they want to watch it, you know. It's part of their weekend, you know, and
Right.
And I take that seriously, you know. It's like there's videos like that I watch on other channels, And you're right. It feels like you know them, and it's true. It's like a way we can connect with our community and try to do some good, So it means a lot to hear you say that. I really, really do appreciate you.
All right. I am Cecil Lammey, everyone, saying until next time, be safe, be kind.
Yeah, know that you are appreciated, right? That's what I always do at the end of these podcasts. So that is a wrap for tonight's show. Want to remind everyone, go get your copy of Death Support. It is on Kickstarter as we speak. You can watch smokingguncomics.com for more information. And we'll be back here promoting comic books, talking about comic books and Star Wars and everything that we love. So that's a wrap for this evening's program. Thank you for all the support so far on Death Support. We've had just huge response early on. I believe I had 3 more backers today. So certainly appreciate that. And thank you guys for joining. Chris said we got some more backing. Yeah, we did get some more backing. So thank you guys. Also, I know the interview was choppy, probably because my Wi-Fi is choppy. So I will be rebroadcasting that. I'm also clipping that. You can check it out on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook there as well. So for Ken Sullivan, for Chris Harp, I'm Cecil Lammey. Shout out Jason. Go watch Hannibal season 3, buddy. Anyway, be safe, be kind. Know that you're appreciated. Stay tuned. And as always, stay blankety blank frosty.